Good evening and welcome to tonight's show, the Lall Show, where we tell it as it is right here on Kaieteur Radio. My name is Mikhaila Prince and I will be moderating tonight's show. For those who are new to the program that we have tonight, this is a show we have 3 times a week on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, where we discuss articles and issues in Guyana, particularly natural resources, and to be more specific, on the oil and gas. With me here tonight, I have 3 of my esteemed colleagues, Mr. Kemol King, Miss Shikema Day, and Miss Kiana Wilburg. And for the man that we are all gathered here to listen to tonight, Mr. Lall, who is the publisher of Kaieteur News. So, Mr. Lall, I hand the fort over to you.
Hey, thank you. Thank you, guys. I see you guys look all dashing, and I wasn't abandoned tonight. Guyana, please demand a renegotiation of our oil, our gold, our diamond, our bauxite, our timber, now. Please do not hesitate. Please do not leave it back for tomorrow. Demand it today, now. Demand also changes in the way which this country is being run. You must not sit back and allow business as usual by governments one after the other. No, 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 please don't do that. They think we are all monkeys, so they can steal our resources for themselves and sell the remaining to foreigners for peanuts, so they can feed us with that. I hope you guys have heard me very clear there. They are stealing our resources for themselves, that of their friends and their family, and the remaining they are selling for peanuts, to which they will feed us. A very good night to all our listeners from right across the world. I want to, before I start this program, I want to thank all those persons who over the past weeks been praying for us here at the Media House. I have received so many calls from people all over, thanking me for what we are doing. Most of the persons that called me said they were in wonderland as to what is happening with all this oil they've been hearing about since 2015. Some say they are so happy that somebody is finally talking to them about what really going on in this country about their wealth. Let me say this to all of you. Every single one of you. We at this media house are more than happy. In fact, we are delighted to bring to you, to the best of our ability, what's going on here. Thanks once again for all those sweet and encouraging words. Thank you again. I always like to begin my program with a quote, because I love quotes. And I will repeat this quote because this quote has been singing in my thoughts and in my mind and in my soul every day as I pass through life. It says, corruption is like a disease that eats away at the foundation of people's faith in government. It undermines the stability and security of nations. It's like your children stealing from you, robbing you. What are they doing to the house? Well, that is exactly what's happening in this country, my brothers and sisters. When I read some of the stories in the papers, it makes me sad. Just take a look at today's headline. It says, EU unlocking US 100 million for Guyana. It's so sad that we have and value so much that we have to beg every day for loans and grants. which are indebting our children. Our oil blocks could have been sold, in which we would have had so much that Guyana would have been the one to lend other nations cash. Instead, we are stretching our hands like beggars every single day. Look, today, the news out of Brazil carries a headline. It reads, Brazil to hold public hearing on exploration action in their mining sector. Public exploration action in the mining sector. Guyana, from the time a foreigner knocks at the doors of our leaders and throw a paper bag on their desks with a few cents, all gone, with loads and tons of tax breaks, duty-free, plus concessions. Just look around and find out what all of them in Guyana got, and you will understand. Listen to this other headline. The fishermen, a license, Comrade Ramdachan jump up and say he going to Parliament to debate a fishing license that was granted to one of our brother or our sister. Rather than he taking those criminal oil contracts, agreements, there to talk about it and renegotiate and get those criminal contracts changed, he's talking about a fishing license. Here's another headline that I read only yesterday. President Ali urges review of regional food security strategy. When I read that one, it didn't make me sad. It made me laugh. Laugh as here you hear our leaders is talking about review of regional food security strategy, when he should be reviewing all the oil deals, all the gold contracts, the bauxite contracts, and all these timber contracts. Those are the things he should be reviewing rather than review security strategy. You know, last night going home, I was stopped at Houston because the oil companies, them, when they're passing, want to drive in with their trucks, they have a policeman standing up there blocking both sides of the traffic. And when I drove up there, I asked the policeman, what's going on, man? You guys don't know that people are hardworking citizens that need to go home and rest? We have to stop there and wait for 15, 20 minutes for these trucks to pass. And what are we getting out of that? I asked him, I said, do you really understand what is playing out in this land? Do you know who's paying you? And he's looking at me. He's saying, well, Glenn, I'm doing my job. I said, well, the oil companies, them, is paying the Guyana Police Force to manage and to progress their business, in which it must have no hold-ups. But me, having worked all day, all night, going home, have to stop and wait on them. Like, I am not producing. I am not a taxpayer. I am not moving production in Guyana. I am just a junkie. They're stopping us like junkie. And guess what, Guyana? Who is really paying those policemen? You can't get a policeman to come if your chain snatch, or if your car get hijacked, or if your bike get thief. You can't get a policeman to come to visit your home if you have a breakage. But guess what? We can find policemen and women on the roads all day, all night with vehicles following and escorting oil players. They are the production movers of Guyana now. our life has no meaning these days. And these are the kind of things that upset me when I watch and see what's taking place. You know, I talked about the damages being done to the roadways. It's not our small cars are breaking them. It's those big heavy-duty trucks breaking them. And you know what, Guyana? Who has to fix them? We, our taxpayers' dollars, will have to be used to fix those roads, because the few pennies that we will be getting from these oil companies wouldn't be enough to even fix the damages they are causing to our roadways. So Guyana, you need to understand all these things, the effect it has on the economy and we as citizens of this country. We carried another story. A group of shareholders of Exxon is calling on them to stop polluting the atmosphere. We talked about that too. What Guyana is doing? Nothing. The people say them plan to have 4 directors on Exxon board who have expertise in clean technology. So we don't even have a say much as have a director on Exxon. We don't even have a manager on Exxon. And this group they're saying that they plan to put 4 directors on Exxon board of directors so that they can ensure that the environment is clean and safe. Exxon refuses to address climate risk. It's a serious concern to many of its shareholders. I am not saying this. This is a group of shareholders talking this, Guyana. The people are also concerned about Exxon overspending and that its current path is unsustainable and puts its dividends at risk. You see how these people are concerned? They are concerned about how Exxon is spending and how their pockets can be affected. What about ours? Where is Joseph Harmon? Where is Jack Dale? Where is Stratman? Where is Granger? Where is Irfan Ali? Where is Robert Prasad? They are continuing to borrow billions to expend on projects. That's what they're doing. And they're borrowing this money against who? Against our children. So we would be left in debt. The group of people, the shareholders, wants Exxon to impose its environmental reputation and implement other changes. They want Exxon to set up a long-term plan to compensate them in the event of any mishaps. You hear that, guys? You hear that? Implement a long-term plan to compensate them in the event of any mishaps, any collapse, or anything goes wrong. Where is Guyana in all of this? Who will be compensating us? The way our leaders have been running the affairs of this land, if they don't change that direction, that road in which they're taking us, believe me, Guyana, your lives will never change for the better. Listen to this carefully. An oil company named Petrobras appears to be using Guyana's petroleum regulatory system to pressure Brazil regulators into granting environmental permits quickly. You hear what these people saying? They are using the way in which we went about to grant environmental permits. They want to bring the same thing to Brazil. The CEO of the oil company pointed to Guyana as a likely business destination for the company. He said Brazil is taking too long to grant environmental permits to drill in Brazil. He said this has to be resolved quickly. If not, they're going to move to Guyana. Guyana is giving away everything. And then believe that Brazil should do the same. When I read that, I had to laugh. Them trying to pull a fast one on Brazil, but Brazilian falling for that bait. Basically, what Brazil is saying, if Guyana wants to give away them wealth, it's okay, let them do it. We certainly aren't going to follow any fools by signing away our oil. You hear that, guys?
Absolutely.
So Brazil is actually telling all our leaders that they're a pack of fools and idiots. Hear what the CEO continued to say. He said that the area the oil company wants to drill in could see similar success as ExxonMobil in the Stabroek block. He said Exxon has made 18 discoveries in 2015 and has received, here it is, and has received government approval for 3 field development in a very short time. Wow. 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 And he said Brazil should do the same thing. Everything is a runaway here for we. Everything is just disappearing. And disappearing for what? With what? What are we getting? Nothing. The CEO went on to say the company has been invited by Guyana to participate in its licensing rounds. If Brazil continue to drag them feet, they may very well come to Guyana. We have a set of morons running this country who is willing to break all the oil norms, rules, and regulations. I wonder why. Is it for their pockets? Guys? A few dollars in their pockets? That they will disregard our safety, our health, our seafoods, and grant these oil permits overnight for them to rob us too? Guyana? Guys, are you listening what's going on?
Definitely.
Is that's how greedy, glutton, and selfish our leaders are in this country? For a few dollars? Could somebody explain the permit for me, please? Like I need to take a break. Explain the permit to Kiana. Please help me with that, man. I'm tired, man. Oh gosh.
Well, the permits, I'll try to keep that as simple as possible. First of all, Mr. Lall, I should say that was a very comprehensive overview of some of the hard-hitting topics that have been published thus far in the Kaieteur news this week. And I thought that it was very interesting that you brought up the point about Petrobras, and I don't believe people really understand how serious of a matter this is. What Petrobras is really saying about the lawlessness that is taking place in Guyana. And the reason why I want to bring this to the attention of our citizens is because Kaieteur News, we are very astute in the review of studies that are done by international agencies. And I just want to bring this to your attention that the Inter-American Development Bank recently concluded a study on Guyana, looking at our resources and our level of preparedness. And in that report, the IDB was saying, you know what, Guyana, you need to take a page out of the regulatory systems and processes that Brazil has in place. The IDB is calling on Guyana to take a page out of Brazil's book because of how stringent they are in terms of regulating the sector. Now here is Petrobras, a company that is well known for corruption and paying off officials to win
Contract.
millions of dollars in contracts. It's looking for a way into Guyana, and it wants to be able to carry on with the same level of lawlessness that it was able to do in the past. So because it can't get its way, it's saying now, okay, Brazil, if you don't conform to what we want, we will take our money elsewhere. It's going to take its money and invest it in Guyana, where lawlessness
Corruption.
is just left, right, and center. It's almost cloaking every agency that we have that is supposed to be the gatekeeper of our natural resources. And coming back to what Mr. Lall asked me to explain with the environmental permits, I believe that this is my colleague's story, Kemol. So even though I am well equipped to explain this,
Yes, give it a try.
I'll let my colleague Kemol take over this matter.
Okay, well, I am eager to address how Guyana has been handling its permits. Because I think there are a lot of people who would see Brazil's Petrobras saying, "Oh, I'm going to come to Guyana." Some people would think, "Wow,
Yeah, that's
everybody's
something
coming
good,
here. We should feel lucky that they want to come invest in us." But they're seeing that our regulators are just making fools of us. And this is not unique to any one party. While we were under the leadership of the APNU AFC, the Environmental Protection Agency approved a permit for the Liza Phase 1 project on the same day that the company submitted its environmental impact assessment. Now, an environmental impact assessment is a document that the oil company has to prepare that shows you all of the likely impacts of a project. Now, this is a project that will likely last for over a decade.
2 decades.
2 decades.
To be exact, yes.
And it was a 1,500-page document.
Correct.
So I want someone to tell me how, in God's name, you can take a 1,500-page document, review the entire document properly, and then give the approval on the same day. It's very, very clear that the EPA was not doing its job.
Unless they have the grandchildren of Einstein.
Probably.
Unless.
Yes. And so I'll tell you how we found this out. It was the international environmental lawyer, Melinda Janke, that
That's
pointed
right.
it out to us. And so she found it while she was going through compiling some information for a case that was being brought against the EPA.
Correct.
And now this case will tell you more about how the EPA had been slacking. The EPA had a case brought against it by the former president of the Transparency Institute in Guyana, Dr. Troy Thomas. And this was because the EPA granted the license for way more time than the law allows,
20 years.
right? And the law only allows for a maximum of 5 years.
Wow.
Yes.
So this shows you two things. The EPA was willing to give out a permit that was not in keeping with the law. And two, the EPA did not even care to review the
Correct.
environmental impact
Correct.
assessment. This is what companies like Petrobras are looking at and seeing, I can come here. This is a free-for-all.
That's
I
right.
can come and do anything. And on the side of the PPP, you won't get a less of a headache. The PPP hired a former politician who came under fire for mismanaging public funds while she was the premier of Alberta, which is a province in Canada.
Canada, yeah.
Worse yet, while she was there, her party received money from an ExxonMobil subsidiary called Imperial Oil. So here is a consultant coming here to review a $9 billion ExxonMobil project, and she benefited from money that came from Exxon's subsidiary. Do you think that she's going to do the work properly?
No way.
Now, Kaieteur News had interviewed people like Melinda Janke and the former presidential advisor on petroleum, Dr. Jan Mangal. And he said the proper reviews, they take quite a while, and you have to get a competent team of specialized persons to look at every part of it.
Correct.
Miss Redford completed her review in under 6 weeks. And then the permit was given out. And the most important issues that were in the public, that were matters of controversy at the time, her review brought no finality to those issues.
Yes, that's the flaring.
The flaring
And
the
produced
dumping
water.
of produced water
Yep.
inside our oceans. So that's just an idea of what Petrobras is looking to Guyana, and they're seeing and saying, we're going to come here. They're laughing at us. And is that really what you want, Guyanese?
That's right. Basically, Kemol, we are seen as a corrupt nation, willing to accept and take whatever come in our leaders' hands, and they sell everything out. You know, they don't care about our health. The produced water that they are dumping there, 12,000, 13,000 barrel per day. The woman, the Canadian that the government hired to review $9 billion US. I don't think we'll ever get $9 billion US in oil. And you bring a Canadian to review that project. And the two most important thing, our health, our safety. This woman didn't even say a word much about it. You know, it's so sickening, it's so sad. It's so sad to hear that a country like Guyana has a law to grant 5-year permit. Instead, you give them 20 years. Anyway, we got that change. We got it changed thanks to that international lawyer, Melinda Janke. She went to court, and the court ruled and said, no, you can't come here and break our laws. So they reverted the 20 years to 5 years.
You know, Mr. Lall, someone should have faced some sort of consequence
I agree with you. Yes, somebody should have
for
got to go to jail
for that
these things.
level of lawlessness.
Yes, it's more than lawlessness. Kemol just said, you get a report, a 1,500-page report on your environmental paper, and who can study that in a day? Who has the capability or the ability to study that document in a day? But guess what? The coalition government, Granger, Trotman and Harmon, them, just sign it right away. And this is what goes on. It's a blame game going on. This one did this one did that. And this what's taking place in our land. What a lovely way to do business, brothers and sisters. You guys see how they're running this oil business of ours. Right? Then we have Robert de Passad. You know, oil block land in the company. He gave away 2 oil blocks to a company which is stated in the contract and cannot be found in the registry. Even though the local media, along with global bodies, have made relentless calls for an international probe to know the truth about the giveaway of the Kaieteur and Kanji blocks to persons who are broke and unqualified, the PPP, the PNC, and the AFC, their mouth is being bitten by cats. Robert Passad was the main man behind them. And guess what, Guyana? He is back. He is back. Holding actually the same position, Foreign Secretary. You see what's going on in Guyana? All we are talking and he's silent. A matter of fact, one of our own lawyer here, Christopher Ram, said recently, as today, such a move by the PPPC only serves to foster a culture of corruption and suspicion. That comment was made in response to a question on whether he was surprised that the government retained Passad in the light of troubling circumstances surrounding the award of which still needs clarity. Ram said in his view, these things foster a culture, if not corruption. And it makes the average person wonder, why? What are we doing this? Why are we doing this? What are we getting?
Mr. Lall, if you
And the
will
man
allow me.
even said, I remember him saying, he said, and this continues to happen
Yeah.
after one government to another. It's the same things going on. You know, I made a little note, look, I have it here. The same thing going on. The Attorney General is talking about investigating the birth certificate scandal in which Larry London was given the sole sourcing to go bring it in Canada. And in the same breath, while the PPP is investigating that, the same thing continues with tin certificates at GRA. GRA, they are sourcing the tin certificates too. Right now as we speak. So it's from one government to another government. From the time they go in, look, I made a quick note of it. From the time they go in, one minister's son was given a few contracts. As soon as they go in, Kaieteur News reported that.
We did.
So what has changed? We just getting an exchange.
And nothing happened to the minister.
No repercussions and silence.
We are actually back to normal. It's an exchange. And every time you hear them speak, it's, no, not me. Oh, I had nothing to do with this. And this is what's going on. It's a bunch of criminals running this country. Kia, you were saying something.
Yeah, I want to put something into perspective for people. It's been 5 years since Exxon made its first discovery, and we were told that we would find prosperity. December 20th coming, it will make 1 year since ExxonMobil announced that it started producing oil in the Stabroek Block.
Correct.
And the headlines told you for however long that Guyana would register the fastest growth in the world. After December, they'll tell you that Guyana registered the fastest growth in the world. I want people to really ask themselves, how much of that growth have they felt? The people who are still hungry, who are still struggling to feed their children, and are suffering from this pandemic, how much of this growth have you felt? Where is that money going? That money that has resulted in Guyana registering the fastest growth in the world, because I don't know where it is.
So, I just want to touch back on Robert Prasad and those oil blocks. You know, over the last 3 years, this newspaper would have reported so much about the Kanji and the Kaieteur, the way in which it was awarded, the way in which it was signed away, the way in which it was given out, right? And you give out to people, when you ask these Donald and Robert and Nelson, they don't know who are the players. You know, this thing is so sickening. And guess what, Guyana? From the time those players got it in their hands, they began selling it for millions of US dollars. And guess whose hands, whose pockets those money going into? You got to figure that out. You got to figure that out. Because one of the companies that received the oil block, they had two players inside. You remember the names? What were the names? Chakasang?
Nicholas Chakasang and Hewley Nelson.
Yes, Hewley Nelson and Chakasang. Two Guyanese. None of foreigner. They, when we question them about the company and the oil blocks, One of them said, what, Kemol? You did the story? Repeat.
He said, you know, the traffic is really loud where I am.
Which is
I can't hear you. I'll call you back.
Mm-hmm. And the next one?
The next one, he could not recall.
Yes. You hear what I say, Guyana? Let me repeat it, man. When we asked both of them on the phones, the one said, oh, that's a long story, he can't remember. You get billions of US dollar worth in your name through your company that you set up, and you can't remember. It's a long time. The other one, when you ask he say he driving in the hearing, you call back. Well, we're still waiting. The whole country is waiting to hear what he has to say. Maybe he suddenly get earache. And the other one got Alzheimer's disease. Can't hear. Can't remember. And this is the kind of games, Guyanese, this is the kind of games these leaders are playing with us. They're playing with us. They're playing with our future, our children's future, in which they're going now to beg for loans, to indebt us all. I keep repeating these things so you understand. And I'll repeat what Robert Prasad said. The minister at the time, he was a minister at the time. He said he never meet the people then. He never know them. He only see the lawyers who sign. And when we ask him, who are the lawyers who signed the contract to hold these 2 oil blocks, he said he can't remember them. And he got a little further to say that he only acted as a bridge between GGMC and the President Donald Ramotar. A bridge, he acted as a bridge. And guess what Ramotar said? He said he didn't read the document. He didn't read the contract.
He relied on
He
the
relied
advice.
on the advice of Robert Prasad. And Robert Prasad said he acted like one bridge. He didn't know nothing. And this is why we should demand. This is why we should come out into the streets, Guyana, and take our protests to their doorsteps and demand the truth of our oil blocks, what went on. Because if the people them who got it can't remember and can't hear, and these people saying that they don't know, and once a year read the contract, well, we want back our goddamn oil blocks to set our children and our children's life better. You hear that, Guyana? And I am damn upset about it too. Had they put those oil blocks go on the open market, by now we would have had billions of US. Instead, these morons are telling us, well, we have to go borrow and we have to go beg to help for help COVID victim. You hear what's going on here? Hope you guys are following. Hope you guys understand clearly. This thing is very simple. We don't have to go to university. Glenn Lall never went to university, but I understand a thing or two. I am not telling you that I understand everything, but I know a thing or two. And when I understand a thing or two, I will fight till I die to get my rights.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what's playing out. And now you got this man sitting back there as the gatekeeper for all our wealth. As a matter of fact, he just sat with an Australian company. I don't know if he signed any deal. I'll bring that to you one day. He sat negotiating with an Australian company that come here to do business. I'm going to bring that to you guys Monday night. I wonder if we call him Monday, if he will remember which country he sat down with. Because he couldn't remember. He never meet the players. And he can't remember the lawyers to who signed. Is this a man we can trust in government? Guyana, can you trust this man? Well, let me tell you. I can't hear your answer. But let me tell you, certainly not me. I cannot trust him. And you should understand, when I said earlier, we have to demand changes in the way the leaders are handling our resources. Guyana, we have to demand that. We have to speak up, Guyana. We have to demand renegotiation of every single bit of our oil contracts. You hear that, Mr. Ramjatan? Take that to Parliament. Don't take a damn fishing license that one of your brother or sister get to debate. You guys are morons or what?
Thank you, Mr. Lall, for that very comprehensive and extremely passionate presentation. I would just like to remind the listeners. I can tell. We can tell. I just like to remind the listeners that they can call us or send us your messages. You can call us on 226-7453 or WhatsApp us or text us on 222-2222.
Or 6622222.
Yeah, sure, same thing. Yeah, okay. I'd like to go to the Facebook Live where we have a lot of comments, Mr. Lall. So let's give a minute to read through them. So we have okay.
While you go through that, I wanted to touch on something Mr.
Yes,
Lall
go ahead.
said, because he talked about all these loans. Under the former government, the finance minister, the former one, Mr. Winston Jordan, had said that when COVID came in, they realized that they needed a lot of help. So they applied to all of our development partners for loans.
I remember.
Now, we weren't getting the aid at that time because of the political situation. But now we're getting an abundance of loans that we really should never have had to go out and ask for in the first place. Last month, it was announced that the World Bank granted us a $7.5 million loan. It was also announced that the Inter-American Development Bank granted us a $22 million loan. This is US dollars, right? Now again this month, we're hearing that the Inter-American Development Bank is considering granting us a $30 million loan after it granted us 22 last month. First of all, we discovered oil 5 years ago, and with a considered approach, we would have already had enough money right now that we should not have to go to these development partners to ask them for money.
Thank you.
It's just extremely daunting for me that we have to do this, Mr. Lall.
It's sickening. It's
Yeah, and it's
sickening. It is downright dotishness, stupidness.
And
You know, and the question you gotta ask yourself, why? Why these loaning agencies is hustling to dump money at you?
Yes.
Because they know what we have there, they will get their money. And they will be making the money, not me. Not me and you. They want the little pennies that will come in, that will be coming in to us, go into their banks. So they're happily ready to loan you. You know, it's like it's simple. It's a simple scenario. If you don't have anything, you go to the bank right here. They chase you up. Let a junkie walk in the bank and see if you get money. No, but let somebody like a Glenn Lall who has a few cents walk in there. Man, I just gotta go there and tell them I need a loan, and I'm going home. They will come to my home to lend me. You know why? Because they know I am secured. They know I am safe. They know if I falter, if I take 20 million, Glenn Lall has worth 100 million. So they gone with my entire 100 million. And that's the in a nutshell what international loan agencies does around the world. They are a bunch of crooks. But guess what? Our leaders are so glutton and greedy that they will grab at anything. You know why? When they grab those money, all doesn't spend. You never know how they spend it. They never give you an accurate account of how it's spent. You know, years ago, many years ago, I watched the PPP, how they collected IDB loans, CDB loans, IMF loans, and guess what they do with it? As a matter of fact, one night I went out having a drink at a disco, and when I saw the players, I saw some leaders drinking there. I became curious. I wanted to know who were the other people because I didn't recognize them. And when I was told that they are the bankers, CDB bankers, whining and dining with our leaders, I am like, my God, God help Guyana, because they are whining and dining. So you see the game they're playing. So they're the ones who's supposed to safeguard the banking institution. But when they're in bed and Guyana not knowing anything, what do you think they're doing together? Think about it. But guess what? That loan still rests with us to pay back.
Absolutely.
It's pure scampishness, pure corruption, and pure stealing going on with these leaders that we have in this nation. And I'm saying so. And they all can sue me too. I don't care. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Lall. Back to the Facebook Live, we have some comments. I'm reading one here from Hari Prasad, who is saying that Granger, Trotman, Ramatar, and Robert Prasad do not care about the average Guyanese once they and their families live the good life. He doesn't care about the other average people. There's also one from Derek Hawker.
That's a smart man. That man is reading through the line. He understands what's playing out.
There's also one from Derek Hawker who's saying, scandalous incompetence at the highest level of Guyana's oil sector, rampant corruption amongst the elite, while they jail my brothers and sisters for a joint of marijuana.
That's right, and snatching a chain. Yep, I agree with them, man.
Yeah.
These are the kind of a conversation we gotta have. Talking about the conversation. Only today in our editorial meeting, I told the staff the level of reporting, the level of discussion and the discussion, what's taking place in this land has to change. It must change. We have to look at what we are telling Guyana every day. I told them, I said, listen, we have to stop reporting on this blame game that our politicians is going on with. This one they do that, and that one they do that, and this one do this, and this one. No. I said no, that's not for this media house anymore. We have to lift the level of conversation beyond what we were reporting on for the years. And today the AFC would have had their press conference in which we discussed some of the stories. And I had to ask them, when my reporters were telling me what they said, I kept asking them which newspaper or which radio station that is going on. Certainly not here. That is for the Chronicle, the Stabrook News, and the Guyana Times and the other radio stations. Not here. You're not gonna shoot them crap anymore. The level of discussion in this land has to change. You have to tell us. You got to tell the nation about their wealth, where it's going, whose hands it's in, what are the deals, and what is there for us as a people. Stop telling us and blaming people.
Mr. Lall, it's amazing the way they would present these topics in these press conferences, and you see the very blatant, shameless political back and forth that they're doing.
Yes.
Politics.
And I'll give you an example. Mr. Kemraj Ramtatan, the leader of the AFC, has now become a voice, the champion of the rights of Afro-Guyanese in Guyana.
Yes.
And he's talking about discrimination against Afro-Guyanese on the basis of the color of their skin.
They choose him to do that.
And the texture of their hair. And all of these are very important issues, but it is very, very difficult for me as a journalist to listen to these leaders say certain things when I am so aware of what they're doing to this country.
Thank you.
You cannot display the level of selfishness and
Political loyalty.
Yes, that you would disregard some of the most important issues like our wealth to bring us down to a tit for tat level, to rope the Guyanese people into this back and forth black versus Indian fight that you're having.
Yes.
You're more
Thank
focused
you.
on
Thank you,
tit for tat.
Kemol.
Politics.
Well, I want to tell Ramjitan they have to keep those stories for their mouth only. It will never see the light of the day in this newspaper or this radio station. And you guys got to start coming. You guys got to start lifting yourself up and get to the real issues of this land. Don't bring crap to us. It's not going to get by here. For too long, Kemol, the media in its whole has been just grabbing up the crap, that they sit at press conferences and tell you, and we must go report what they're saying. No more that will happen. And I recall the day you guys came in, when Barajagdeo had you guys 3 hours, nearly want to sleep. You should speak about that. Kiana should speak about it. And stop it. A matter of fact, I had to ask my reporters, why didn't you guys get up and walk out? And that's a stand we have to start taking. If you're not going to deal with the issues that affects the people of this country, this newspaper will not sit there and listen or sleep away. A matter of fact, some of you tell me you were sleeping. Because it's like Jagdeo was going wrong and wrong, like if he used to play rounders.
Mr. Lall, the vice president, he does this thing where during press conferences, when you ask a question, he will stretch his answer out on this question. So when you've met the substantive issues you want to talk about, he has already worn out your energy.
Yes.
And he talks about sometimes some frivolous things he might say, and so you're left listening to it. And as a journalist, you want to get the most important bits to go back and tell the people.
That's right.
And when you're hearing your leaders just talk nonsense, and they know you're talking nonsense, it's just very, very tiring to listen to.
Yes. They're insulting your intelligence. The things they do, the things they say. I use descriptive words on them sometimes with my staff. Words that I can't use here, but I think you could feel it in my voice. The things I say about them, the names I call them, the words I use to describe them, and in short, they think that we're monkeys. They think we're idiots. But we sit right in this newspaper here and know who are smart and who are the idiots out there leading this land.
Mr. Lall, on that note, and just to add a bit to the conversation, we've been talking about the political opposition. We've been talking about the government that's treating us as though we have one side of the divide that's treating us as though we're monkeys. And we have another side that's like the 3 blind mice. And I mean, it sounds funny, but it's a very scary reality. When you have to come to grips with the reality that you have a government where one side is one side, and particularly the opposition, is completely incapable of speaking on national issues. And the reason why I just wanted to add to this is because I was recently, well, even before I go to that, let me just finish this point quickly. The AFC had a press conference earlier today. 2 issues I just want to touch on quickly. I remember asking Mr. Trotman very clearly, sir, at the end of this year, the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative requires Guyana to disclose the beneficial owners of all of the oil blocks and the mining concessions that we have. Can we expect the political opposition to press the government to get this done? Trotman went wrong and wrong and wrong. And then when he actually got to it, I could not believe that he was making an excuse.
Wow.
His excuse is, well, with COVID, and this is a really difficult thing, and Kiana, and I'm like, listen, I'm like, Jesus.
Wait,
How is
one
it?
second, to tell Guyana
Yes.
who are getting the money from
Yes.
the oil blocks
Yes.
and who own our mining lands?
Yes.
Wow. You hear
That's
that,
the
Guyana?
disposition. That is the disposition. And what I was also shocked to notice is that if I did not ask or mention anything about oil and gas, oil which will account for 40% of this economy, one resource will account for 40% of this economy. A resource that is known for bringing nations down to the dirt, for plunging millions, hundreds of people into extreme poverty.
Millions.
We have a political opposition that is stuck in a cycle of, and when you ask them, okay, what are the issues you're going to hold this government accountable on? What can we expect you to hold this government accountable on where oil and gas is concerned? Well, we want to make sure we get local content right, and the produce water, and the flaring, and we're gonna make sure we look at the audits, every single thing that has already been in the media and has already been said from August to now is all that they've been saying. So we clearly have an opposition that is just showing us that it has to be spoon-fed, that it has a tunnel vision, that it is short-sighted, and it does not have an independent mind.
And Kiana, let me add to that. Raphael Trotman, he was a key player in
Yes.
the coalition government
Yes.
that's responsible for all the mining sector and the oil. And here the answers he's giving, he don't know this and he don't know that. And he's playing dumb. This is an attorney at law playing dumb as to whether he would hold the government accountable on simple issues. You see the games these politicians are playing with us in this country, Guyana? Brothers and sisters, you guys need to understand what they're playing, the games they're playing with us. And you have to stand up. You have to speak up. We cannot allow them to walking around saying, well, I don't know this, and I don't know that, and I can't recall this. Our political players, they have selective memory. They tell you what they want you to hear and what they think you should know. No, my brothers and sisters. We will change it. We have to change it. We have to start looking for leaders to change them if they can't change themselves.
Ms. Lall, when the AP and AFC became the opposition, I, for a moment, was a bit relieved because I thought that these people would have been in a position now to give us information in the oil and gas industry, things that they didn't want to say when they were in government. Now, Mr. Harman had a few press conferences as the opposition leader, and you're asking him questions about, hey, who are the beneficial owners of the Kaieteur and the Kanji block? What made you decide to do this? Why did you approve this? Why did you give this to this person who didn't have the money or the expertise or any know-it-all of it? And it's very disappointing when you sit in these press conferences and these people who are in government for 5 years say to you, I don't know, I just signed this thing.
Or even surprising, they have to wait on Kaieteur.
They have to wait on Kaieteur News to give them the information.
amazing.
You were in government for 5 years and you don't know what went on. And then they give you these excuses of, oh, I don't have that information on me, but I will have this special oil and gas conference where we will discuss these topics.
How long ago did
That was
the
since August.
We're
In
still
August,
waiting.
yeah,
on
we're
that.
still
waiting.
waiting. It's December. So
It's
I guess
December,
we're
and
waiting
we're still
until
waiting.
2021 for that oil and gas press conference.
And even when we asked people from the AP and the AFC, Mr. Patterson, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, we asked
said he
Mr.
was not.
Patterson, when are we going to have this oil and gas press conference? We need to know about what's happening with the people's wealth. And He said, well, I don't know anything about that, but if Mr. Harmon said that he promised to hold it, then he will.
Sure, this is gonna be held.
Yeah. And it's very disappointing, it's disheartening, it's even maddening to know that these are the people that we had elected into power, and now you are responsible to look after our wealth and our resources, our patrimony, and these are the excuses that you give to us.
And not
You
just
see-
them, the government themselves too, because we've been asking questions and we have not been getting any answers. It's just silence. How are we supposed to trust these leaders? How are we supposed to believe in them?
Guys, the reason they're doing this is because Guyana is bombarded, is known for a race issue. African, Indian. The African vote this way, the African vote that way. And all of them out there, all they're doing, they're looking up to their party this and party that. And these leaders know that. This is why they can play these games with the country. But I have news for you guys. It has to stop, and it has to change, and it will change. Kaieteur News and Kaieteur Radio will change it. If every day I got to come on this radio and have several programs to speak about what is coming out of your mouth, I will do that. I'll make sure I have people to come and speak on it. You guys got to get real. And you got to start look out for the people's interests rather than our own pockets.
We have a very important question here from a Stefan Phillips on the Facebook Live, who's asking, why is Mr. Timothy Jonas, Mr. Lennox Schumann, and Dr. Asher Kissoon, who advocated for democracy in the 5-month protracted elections that we had, why are they so silent now?
That's a tough question. I can't answer that one. Sorry, guys. Sorry, Mr. Phillips. What else you have?
Mr. Lall, I just saw a comment on the Facebook Live, and so I just had to open my phone quickly and verify what I was seeing because I couldn't believe it. I am seeing that our former Minister of Natural Resources, Raphael Trotman, he is a trained negotiator from the Harvard Law School.
Wow.
He has said that.
Oh my God. I didn't know
He
that.
has said that.
Oh my God.
And this is the man who negotiated our oil the lopsided oil contracts
Yes,
that we
he
have
has
right
said
now.
that. Yes.
Yes.
Oh my God.
When he was
And have
challenged
the
on the
nerve-
provisions.
And I have the nerve to say
Yes.
that he didn't prepare the contract. The contract was prepared by the PPP, and he just signed it. He said he didn't change any clause in it. Wow, and this is a trained negotiator on contracts.
Maybe we should send the
That's-
contract to Harvard. Show them what they've produced.
No. They should take away his license. They should take away his certificate, and maybe they should throw him in jail for that.
No, that is shocking. That is very, very shocking.
I never knew that we were.
Yes, we
I
had a
know-
press conference when we were at the Ministry of the Presidency, and the provisions, the damning provisions, were now coming out, particularly those in relation to the relinquishment provision and the stabilization clause. And Mr. Trotman was very, very adamant that, they had a team. Well, two things he said. One, that he's a Harvard graduate and
Wow.
a negotiator. And two, that they would have received expert advice from international institutions. And I remember us carrying a story with Christopher Ram saying that he should list the institutions, not just hide behind this ambiguity.
Right.
He should name the institutions and the individuals who gave him advice, and he never did.
As a matter of fact, he didn't wait on the advice.
We even asked, he said, they had a team of negotiators with them, and we've been asking over and over, who are the people you had helping you and advising you?
Well,
we never knew.
Well, we should demand that story so that the nation can know.
Yes.
They shouldn't be hiding now. Listen, if you leaders believe that this is a 7-day wonder story, put your pot of fire. No, sir. No, madam. This is a story that will be on the lips of every single employee of the Kaieteur News, to which we will be talking every single day. A matter of fact, let me tell all of you if you're listening, I have instructed the staff of this newspaper, as long as I am alive, all those, every day, my lead story will be on oil. Because it's our livelihood. It's my future generation to come, wealth and good life. Y'all playing around with. And I better get your acts together to start speaking and come clean and come with the truth to this nation.
Thank you, Mr. Lall, for that. That brings us to the end of tonight's program.
Questions?
We don't have any questions, but we do have a statement from Mr. Rudolph Singh, a comment rather, that Mr. Trotman is a disgrace to Harvard.
I fully agree with you.
We don't have questions. It seems we have a lot of comments.
Yeah.
People are not clueless anymore. They have strong opinions.
And they are
Yes, I
very
understand,
angry as
right.
well.
And they are angry, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
So, on bringing the curtains down on tonight's show, do you have any final remarks to share with the audience tonight, Mr. Lall?
I just want to tell them to demand, keep demanding renegotiation on all these deals that sits or rests with our foreigners in the gold, the diamond, the bauxite, the timber. Let's keep our eyes open and let's demand a renegotiation of every single one of them so that we, the Guyanese people, can benefit. And don't let me hear another word from our leaders that these projects that are coming to Guyana, these investments that are coming to Guyana will bring jobs. Let me tell you, leaders, the Guyanese people don't need jobs. They need the damn fair share of their own wealth. Don't tell them about jobs. I just stop telling people this nonsense about how much jobs they're going to create. The Chinese come here and they give them Marriott the bill. The Chinese bill it. They're at the airport and they say Chinese working. I stop this damn stupidness with jobs and jobs creation coming from Yarmouth, from Granger to Fanali, from Jagdale to Harmon. I stop this damn stupidness. Please. People want to know how they can get them fair share out of their own wealth. They may thief it. It belongs to them. It's their God-given, blessed to riches. We need it. I need it too.
On that note, as you would know, we started this program with a wonderful quote from the publisher himself, Mr. Lall, and I'm going to end this evening with another quote.
Beautiful.
From a book called The Plundered Planet by Mr. Paul Kaieteur. And the quote says, "A well-functioning democracy will formulate the rules that people want, but the people will only want what they understand." On that note, Guyanese, I would like to tell you to continue to listen to the Glenn Lall Show so that you can continue to inform yourselves of what's going on in your country and be in a better position to demand how you want your country to be ruled.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. It seems my job has been taken by Kiana, but thank you so much for listening to tonight's show. You can join us again on Monday at 7:20 for another edition of the Glenn Lall Show, where we tell it as it is, and a rebroadcast at 11 tomorrow. At 11 a.m. tomorrow morning, you can get, and it'll be much shorter. So thank you so much, and do have a splendid evening. Thank you so much.
This is a hijack. Highway robbery. Two-wheel blocks.